This conference will now be recorded.
Yep.
All right,
We
Brad,
have
roll.
MassDOT. All right, Secretary and CEO, MassDOT, Steve Warfel.
Yeah, Steve Wolfrow, representing Secretary and CEO of MassDOT's Monica Tippett's not here.
MassDOT Highway, Ann Sullivan.
Ann Sullivan, MassDOT District 3 Project Development Engineer, representing MassDOT Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
Okay. Trevor Beauregard, City of Gardner.
Present.
Mark Pemerini, City of Leominster.
Here.
Glenn Eaton, MRPC.
Present, Brad.
George Cahaley, Mart.
Present.
Rosemary Meisner, Subregion 2.
Here.
And Tim Kilhart, Subregion 3.
Present.
And we do have a quorum. We have 8 signatories present.
All right, sounds good. So next agenda item is public comment, and then any members of the public would like to address the MPO today. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 3, which is potential approval of the meeting minutes of October 18th. Can I get a motion second to approve the minutes?
So
I make
moved.
a motion to accept it.
Seconded, Ann
All
Sullivan.
right, Brad, did you?
Yes, we got that.
All right. All right. All right. Any changes or comments? All right, seeing none. Brad, do you want to read the roll?
MassDOT Secretary CEO, Steve Warfel.
Yes.
MassDOT Highway, Ann Sullivan.
Yes.
City of Gardner, Trevor Beauregard.
Yes.
City of Leominster, Mark Pemerini.
I'm going to abstain. I was not here at that meeting.
Okay. MRPC, Glenn Eaton.
Aye.
Mart, George Cahaley.
Yes.
Subregion 2, Rosemary Meisner.
Yes.
And Subregion 3, Tim Kilhart.
Yes.
So it passes as presented.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll move on now to agenda item 4, which is an update on the statewide long-range transportation plan. And Chris and I don't have anything today. So we'll now move on to agenda item 5, which is a vote on the federal fiscal year 24 to 2028 TIP. Ryan, take it away, please.
Okay, thank you. So there's 2 parts to the 24 through 28 TIP amendments today. The first is we'd like to endorse the amendment sent out for public comment on the highway side at the October meeting, and I'll go over that information. And then we have a new amendment number 2 on the transit side, which Keena will detail in a moment. First off, the highway amendment. Again, this is in regards to project 613167, Athol, Phillipston, Templeton Bridge preservation on 8 bridges, bridge crossings along Route 2. This is a cost increase from approximately $9.499 million to $15.189 million, which is an increase of roughly $5.7 million, or approximately 60%. And again, the reason for the increase was given to us by MassDOT because of a cost increase in general inflation since the project was originally initiated, as well as the inclusion of a full bridge painting in the project. So again, this was out for public comment. We started that period October 25th, and that ended on Tuesday, yesterday, November 14th. We haven't received any comments on the amendment, so what we're looking for is an endorsement.
All right, can I get a motion and second to endorse this first part of this TIP item?
So moved, Ann Sullivan.
Is there a second?
I second, George.
Thanks, George. All right, any questions for Brian? All right, seeing none. Brad, you want to read the roll?
MassDOT Secretary, Steve Warfel.
Yes.
MassDOT Highway, Ann Sullivan.
Yes.
City of Gardner, Trevor Beauregard.
Yes.
City of Leominster, Mark Pomerini.
Yes.
MRPC, Glenn Eaton.
Yes.
Mart, George Cahaley.
Yes.
Subregion 2, Rosemary Meisner.
Yes.
And Subregion 3, Tim Keelhart.
Yes.
So the motion passes.
All right, thank you on that. So Brian, you want to move to part 2 of the tip item today?
Yep, we have an additional amendment number 2. We'd like to put out for public comment period on the transit side, and I'll let Keena speak to that. Keena, this is the right handout, correct?
It is the correct one. Yep. So we are presenting this amendment, and overall on the capital side, we're actually decreasing the funding. There were a lot of projects on there, and I'm not sure how they were included at that point, but we're definitely seeing tighter budgets right now and higher costs of various things. So we do have a couple of increases as well, but overall we're reducing like our capital projects budget. We did need to increase, so I'll start at the top with operating assistance. This reflects our current operating expenses better than what we had on the tip starting out. So so we're increasing that by about 2.5 million overall. So rather on the federal side, and then 2.5 on the state side. Then we had an award or funding coming in from the VW settlement. So that number, they gave us 3 million, and then that seemed to be an estimated amount. So they gave us a solid figure of 2.4-ish million. So lesser amount of 571,284. And then there is GO bond funding through the state on a prior project that was funded in the federal budget the prior year. So this is the state match for the 5307 we received for 4 E2B vans. So this is just the GO bond that they had intended to fund in FY24 of $88,800. You'll see all of these projects in red are being removed due to budget constraints, and some of that funding was moved into the 2 projects in yellow. The elevator project, we had put it out to bid. We received no bids, and I believe we were at about 250 at that point. So we reduced the scope and increased the budget on that by roughly 500,000. It looks like, no, rather $50,000. So that was due to just the cost of elevator repairs was far more astronomical than we expected. The parking garage structural repairs, again, the funding needed to be increased. It wasn't going to be enough to repair the piers that we discovered needed repair after extensive study. So that is increasing overall funding to 1.1 million almost. We are hoping that that project comes in close to that amount. We could anticipate that that could increase by about 200,000, but right now we're trying to keep it at this 1,065,000. The other 6 projects are additions. As you can see, they're fairly small projects. We did we're moving fire suppression systems to the appropriate areas to protect the equipment due to other moves that had occurred with the equipment. So those need to be completed. Roughly $40,000 in 2 different buildings. There was a project added to improved the safety at the Water Street lobby. We've added new glass, a new locking door, and there was actually a plumbing issue that was repaired as well. And the conference room was just updated as it had been getting basically worn. And so that's been improved. Finally, we had an emergency repair in Gardner due to a water main break that created more or less a geyser at our facility. Initially, we were supposed to replace just the utility hatch. However, that was repaired as part of this process of repairing the pavement due to the water main break. So that was kind of an emergency project that we need to get added, hopefully this go around. And then finally, some lighting and electrical at the ITC. The lighting that is there currently is beginning to fail and needs to be replaced. And some structural shoring in the basement at the Leominster storage facility. Again, just maintaining in a state of good repair. Just a discovery that Ryan made that needed some work. So I think that pretty much sums it up overall.
All right. Can I get a motion and second to send this amendment out as just detailed? And I can open the questions.
I do have one other, I apologize. One other thing is a couple of these I think are just, I think the Go Bond, I think Chris wanted to present that as an adjustment. And the two projects that you see in yellow would be adjustments as well under the current rules.
If I could chime in, just
Please.
Oh, Chris.
sorry. So yeah, the GO, the standalone adjustment that is not involved in the other changes that Mart and Keena just outlined here. So we've taken adjustments like that up as standalone in the past, but for other adjustments that are sort of rolled into all the changes you see here on the screen, we've kind of left it at the discretion of the MPO whether you all want to release them for public comment as a bundle together or to remove some of the adjustments to endorse those right away. We've done both in the past, so I think, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, we'd be fine with either direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they're not time sensitive, we just send it out all as one, as long as everyone agrees, unless any of they are time sensitive. But if they're not, kind of present them as one amendment, we should probably send it out that way if everyone's fine with that. Are any of them time sensitive, adjustment pieces?
My only question would be for the Go Bond one. I'm not sure. I didn't get a response when I asked Rail and Transit Division.
We have no concerns in terms of, we don't need to rush the other two through.
All right. So if everyone's fine, why don't we just send it out as, and then in the future, I can, we can do them separately where you guys need to move stuff differently. All right. Does that work for everyone? All right. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ken. All right. Can I get a motion and second to send them out?
Okay, I make a motion to accept it as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Ann Sullivan?
All right. Any questions? All right. Seeing none. Brad, you want to read the roll?
Okay. Excuse me. MassDOT Secretary Steve Warfel.
Yes.
MassDOT Highway Ann Sullivan.
Yes.
City of Gardner Trevor Beauregard.
Yes.
City of Leominster Mark Pomeraney.
Yes.
MRPC Glenn Eaton.
Yes.
Mart George Cahaley.
Yes.
Subregion 2 Rosemary Meisner.
Yes.
And Subregion 3 Tim Kilhart.
Yes.
So we do have support and it passes.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Kenya. Thank you, Chris,
Thank
for
you.
that clarification. We'll move on to agenda item 6, which are updates on development of the TIP and EPWP. So I think, Brian, this is you, and Sherry, whichever wants to go first, go ahead.
Yep, I can handle both of these. Basically, we just wanted this as a heads up. We'll begin the process of updating the what will be the 2025 through 2029 Transportation Improvement Program and the 2024/25 Unified Planning Work Program. As we do every year in the spring, it seems like we're a little bit ahead of the game, but it takes a few months to go through all this and let the pieces fall into place. So probably in January, we'll begin some detailed discussions on these two programs. And throughout the spring and usually in May, we'll endorse, which means in April, we'll have a draft for public comment. And that's the idea anyways. So now is the time to start thinking about TIP projects in your community or possible UPWP projects you'd like us to look at as well. And we'll be discussing those projects in the coming months. So that's all I really have on this item today.
All right, anyone have any questions for Brian? All right, seeing none, thanks, Brian. We'll move on to agenda item 7, Safe Streets and Roads for All Federal Grant Update. Brad, are you handling this?
Yes, I am. I think we talked a little bit last time about this, but this is to just give you a little bit more heads up as we're getting closer to actual start of the program. You may recall we applied for this grant back in 2022 under the Notice of Funding Opportunity put out by U.S. Department of Transportation for this program they're calling Safe Streets for All, or SS4A. And it's to develop a safety action plan for the entire region. The original intent of the program has two types of funding programs, types of grants you could apply for. One was an implementation grant, and the other was to develop an action plan. We could not apply for any implementation grants because to do that, you have to have a viable and an approved safety action plan in place. So the first step for us in our region was to develop this safety action plan. So we looked to do one for the entire region. We thought we'd incorporate all the communities as one. And we also talked with the Montachusett Regional Transit Authority and they decided to add on their part for transit safety issues. So we added on MART as a partner and incorporated and brought in 6 additional communities that are in MART's jurisdiction, but not in ours. So we'll be looking at transit issues for those communities as part of this overall safety plan. So we reached contract agreement with Federal Highway in September. I want to say in September. We got the formal agreement, and after that, we put out a request for proposals to obtain a consultant to do the work on this plan. Now, as part of the development of the plan and the program, there was a requirement of a 20% local match. So as we developed the application and looked to the match, we started looking at how we could come up with the additional 20% funding. And at that time, Mass DOT stepped in and offered to fund the 20% match in total for us and then for other RPAs also applying for Safety Streets for All program. Now, as I mentioned, we're looking at a safety action plan, and the safety action plan has some major components that need to be included, and that'll be part of the development of the study. The components include a leadership commitment and goal setting section, a planning structure, and that is involved a committee or task force to help guide and implement the program. There needs to be a safety analysis, a detailed safety analysis conducted for the communities involved that looks at the high risk factors, road segments, intersections, and so forth, and to identify high injury locations and high risk locations. So that's one of the major data efforts and analysis efforts as part of the development of the plan. Another major component includes engagement and collaboration, and that's an outreach program to make sure those populations, a lot of the underserved populations as well as everyone, is involved and has knowledge and can input into this entire process. So having a substantial equity and outreach program developed is essential to getting this plan put together and then later approved by Federal Highway. And then we have again, an equity consideration has to be as part of that outreach plan, and then development of policy and process changes. From this, we will develop different maybe policy changes that communities can enact. It'll depend upon what the is found out in the risk assessment and the safety analysis. So that'll be developed as part of this. And then the strategy and project selections to come up with mitigation measures to the identified safety problems as defined by the analysis. And the entire process needs to be transparent and open to the public. And that's, again, a major consideration, a major component of this plan. And that's what we're focusing on with the consultants, and made that a major part of the development process and the request for proposals. So as I mentioned, we put out a request for proposal in September. It closed in mid to late October. We received 7 RFPs, which was a surprise to us since this was new to this, but there were a lot of interest in the program from the consultant side. So we spent the last few weeks going over these proposals and trying to determine the best possible. They are all strong candidates on their own. Each proposal covers the basics that were outlined in the NOFO and those project sections I just discussed. And we ended up having 2 interviews yesterday with 2 of the leading firms. And from that, we are now having internal discussions on who to go with. We hope to have that final decision made this week and notify the consultants by Friday. And once that is done, we'll obviously get a contract put together with them and get the program underway. Now, just going back to the budget for this proposal, just to give you some idea of the money that's being involved. This gives a breakdown of the local 20%, actually we put in more than 20%, and the state and the overall federal share. The bottom line item you see is the SS4A federal, state and local. The entire grant is budgeted at $979,500. Now we're anticipating a 24 months time frame. So we've divided this into a year 1 and year 2 program, and we're anticipating we've put a start date on of November 1st. That may slide back a little, but we're looking to go from November 1st till about October 31st of 2025. And up top, you can see the various local funds that have been put in place. The top line on MRPC local assessments. MRPC is contributing $12,000 in total from the local assessments to the communities, $6,000 per year. Then we have district local technical assistance funds. We receive DLTA funds on a yearly basis from the state to do local projects for communities. We solicit the projects in January, February of each year, and then hope to begin work on them in April. We will apply for DLTA funding in this upcoming year in 2024 for $12,000, and then the following year for another $12,000. So hopefully we'll contribute $24,000 in DLTA funds to this program. MART, as part of their commitment, is providing $6,000 over the 2 years for the local match. And then we have, as I mentioned, the MassDOT and the state funds that they contracted they gave us for $187,500. That'll cover the entire cost of the program and match for them. So all told, our local match came out to $229,500, matched with the $750 from the federal government for the grant. Gets us that $979,500 total budget. So we will, as I mentioned, we will have a consultant selected, and hopefully we'll have a contract signed within the next week and a half or so, with Thanksgiving involved, probably be 2 weeks. And then we'll be off and running. The first major part will be to develop a Vision Zero Action Committee that will help with the development of the program and provide a lot of feedback to the process. And as I mentioned, we had 2 excellent interviews yesterday. There'll be a strong outreach and equity component that will keep everyone involved and keep everyone up to date as to what's going on. And we will also be making regular reports to the Montachusett Joint Transportation Committee, as well as the MPO, as this program moves forward. And the goal being to have a comprehensive safety action plan available with mitigation measures and strategies that communities can adopt. And once they adopt that safety plan, they can then apply for implementation funds through the same program in following years. So once this is put together, a community such as Ashburnham may decide that they're interested in putting some of these things into place, and they'll be able to use that as this plan as a means to access implementation grants from the federal government. That sort of in a nutshell as to where we stand on the SS4A. It's been a long road getting here, but we're finally going to be starting something up soon. So by the end of the year, we'll have this whole process underway and getting some information back to the MPO and to the other communities. And that's all I have at this point.
Anyone have any questions for Brad?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Brad,
Yes.
can you divulge the consultants' names at this point in time, or?
I don't want to. I want to notify everybody first as to our decision. So I can give you a general idea of the 7 consultants who sent RFPs to us, if you'd like that.
I'm just curious who you interviewed, but that's all right. I understand. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right. Seeing none. Thank you, Brad, for that, and good job. Let's
Thank
move
you.
to agenda 8, which is updates. The first update, let's go District 2. Is Daryl on?
Yes, good afternoon. This is Daryl from District
Daryl.
2. So, hi. So for start with FY24 projects, we have a non-target project, project 608723. This is Athol intersection improvements at Crescent Street and Chestnut Hill Ave. The design is at 100%. 100% right-of-way resubmission 3 was submitted on November 9th and is currently under review. The PSNE is due March 27th, 2024. Next project we have is 613167. This is Athol, Phillipston, Templeton Bridge preservation of 8 bridges along Route 2. Design is at 100%. 100% submission was received on November 8th and is currently under review as well. Next we have project 612151. This is an FY25. This is Athol bridge replacement, Route 2A, Main Street over B&M Railroad. The design is at pre-25. Over the shoulder review and draft design justification worksheet comments were completed on October 27th. The pre-25 scope resubmission review comments are due on November 22nd, and the 25% design is due on February 17th, 2024. Finally, we have project 608424, Templeton reconstruction of Route 68 from Kingfield Trail north to the Phillipston town line. The design is at 75%. 75% right-of-way plans are due December 15th, and the 100% design submission is due August 25th, 24. That's all I have for now.
All right. Any questions for Daryl? All right. Thanks, Daryl. All right.
Thanks.
D3 is up. Anna, you doing it?
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
First project is Leominster Route 12, 604499. That project's at 75%. 100% will be due in December at some point. I don't have an updated schedule. The right-of-way plans have been accepted for that project. The next project, 608189, is in Fitchburg. It's bridge replacement of Water Street over Boulder Drive, Pan Am Railroad, Water Street, and Water Street over North Nashua River. That project's at 75%. 100% is due December 1st, and right-of-way plans have been accepted for that project. In the next project, 612110, Fitchburg Ashby, resurfacing on Route 31. That is at pre-25% design. That's a book job that we're putting together. And then 609411, Fitchburg Leominster Twin City Rail Trail Phase 2. That project, the 100% are under review. By the schedule, the PSNE is due January 31st.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Ann? All right. Thanks, Ann.
Yep.
Next update is from the JTC. Brad? Brad, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm going to turn it over to George Snow.
All right, go ahead, George.
Thank you. I have 3 updates for the MPO today. The MJTC met last Wednesday, November 8th. The members discussed a possible bylaw change related to community representatives. Members are expecting to make a final decision at the next meeting, currently scheduled for Wednesday, December 13th at 2:30 p.m. And staff has begun work on various tasks of the new work program year. As the year moves forward, staff will be bringing regular updates of these studies to the MJTC. The studies include a phase study for Ayer, Lancaster, Lunenburg, and Shirley, the Coordinated Human Services Plan, the Eastern Region Transit Development Program, and the program. We've also made available our 2024 calendar handout that highlights the regularly scheduled meetings of the MRPC. These include the commission meeting, usually held on the first Thursday of the month, the MJTC held on the second Wednesday of the month, and the MPO held on the third Wednesday of the month. These dates and times are scheduled to change, so everyone should also refer to the upcoming meetings listing on our website. And that's all I have.
All right, any questions for George? All right, not seeing any. Thanks, George. The last update is for the commission. Do we have anything, either Glenn or Brad, on the commission front?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very quickly, and it's in one of the handouts, just a simple 2-page memo, 2 points to make. We do a lot of reporting at the MRPC for a lot of contracts, including MassDOT and others. We're moving for our commissioners and general public, and anybody that wants to go to our MR Mapper, Montachusett Mapper website as of January. We'll be going to an online reporting system for local officials and others. So you'll be able to, and there's a visual there. Thanks for putting that up. I believe, Brian, there's a quick visual of Mr. Mapper, and we're basically in an alpha test now. We'll beta test the online reporting system in January. It'll be fully implemented by April for the quarterly reporting system. You'll basically be going to MR Mapper website at mrpc.org. Click on the green dot on the town and get a pull down by contract and see the status of a report. The other point in my monthly report is that we pulled on a communications intern. We have to do a lot of communicating all the time on a variety of plans. Not the least is MassDOT for public outreach and surveys with digital equity planning that we're doing on behalf of some communities and others. We need website updates, but we've got an intern for up to 6 months to help us and get us back on track on bolstering the outreach. There's so much going on with SS4A and other projects. We want to ramp up the communication. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your time.
All right, any questions for Glenn? All right, thank you, Glenn. Next agenda item is 9, administrative matters. Next meeting is when, Brad?
It is December 20th at 1 p.m.
Okay. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brad.
Oh, I just wanted to double check to make sure I gave you the right date. Yeah, it is December 20th, and we'll talk about the TIP amendment that was just released.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. So try to make it so we have a quorum and can take that up. All right, last item is adjournment. Can I get a motion second to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjourn, please say aye.
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 Everybody, thank you for today. We got work done that we need to get done. Please be here for December. Everyone, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving next week and be safe on your travels. And we'll see you next month. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy
Thanks,
Thanksgiving.
everyone.
Bye, guys.